Hello.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I am wonderful, ma'am. Yourself?
Yes, very good, thanks.
Wonderful. I appreciate this opportunity. It's a huge honor, so thank you.
My pleasure. What else
Um,
have I got to do today?
how is lockdown going for you so far?
Well, I was just saying I'm quite enjoying myself. I mean, I feel quite bad in saying that really because I know I'm one of the fortunate ones. I know everybody is not in the same boat as me. But for myself, I am kind of enjoying the fact that there's a slower pace of life, and that I'm able to take my time over everything. I'm not trying to pile so much into my day as I normally do, running from one appointment to another and trying to stuff too much into the day. So it's a matter of being able to stop and smell the roses and enjoy the fact that I don't have any major deadlines and I'm not feeling any pressure. So probably for the first time in my life, or certainly in the last 50 years of my working life anyway, it's really, my shoulders are down and I'm feeling pretty relaxed.
Oh, wonderful. And how are you keeping creative?
Well, I'm been writing some anecdotes and got my diaries out. I thought I might take a stab at piecing together a few recollections from possible memoir. I mean, it's probably never going to happen, but I thought that was whilst I've got all this time, I might as well try. And so I've been doing that. I've fallen off the wagon, I have to admit, the last couple of weeks. But anyway, so I've been doing that. I've been tweeting my song, I Know Him So Well, that was a big hit from Chess over here in Europe, got to #1. Everybody in Europe certainly knows the song from Chess. And so it's a duet. And so I recorded my part and then I asked the public to film themselves singing the other part, and we tweeted that went viral and did several 100,000, which was pretty good. And so that took up I don't know, a day of trying to record it, make it sound half decent. I've been reading a lot more. I've been doing a bit of painting. I got my paints out. I've been cleaning a lot. So yeah, I've been pretty busy, walking, and I'm as fit as I think I've been in, well, I can't remember, at least the last couple of years, because I've been doing these boring exercise classes 3 times a week to try and get fit. So certainly I'm fitter now than I've been for a while. So that feels good.
Oh, wonderful. And so you're going to be on the show Must Goes On for Cats. And what was it like when you landed the role?
Well, it was pretty extraordinary, really, because I came to it rather late in the day. I was not originally cast in the original production. I joined the cast with a matter of a few days prior to the opening preview performance. Judi Dench was to have played the role and injured herself and was unable to make a return to the theatre to be able to make that deadline. And so Andrew and Cameron rang me up and said, "We've got a bit of a problem here. Can you help out?" And funnily enough, the night before this phone call took place, which I always think is a bit spooky and unreal, but it's a complete true story. I was in my car coming home from a dinner party and I heard a fragment of this wonderful melody on the car radio, and the DJ said, "I will play the entire song from Andrew Lloyd Webber's new musical Cats after the midnight news." And so I dashed out of the car when I got home, because I was nearly home, and locked the car, and I ran to the front door, went fiddling about for my keys in my bag, and I looked down and I see this bedraggled, scraggy, scrawny old black cat sort of staggering towards me. And my mother had always told me that if a black cat crossed your path, it would bring you good luck. Well, I was in between jobs, resting, as we say in the business. I just finished Evita, and I was waiting for an opportunity. And so I'm trying to usher this cat across my legs, which it did eventually. And I dashed into the house, set the tape recorder up, and recorded the song. I looked back, the door I'd left open, the cat had followed me in, And it was so bedraggled and pathetic, I gave it a saucer of milk, and needless to say, the rest is history, it stayed the night. So I go to bed with this tape, and I'm playing this song over and over again on my Sony Walkman. That's how many years ago it is. And I thought, I'm going to ring Andrew tomorrow and say to him, I have to record this song. I know nothing to do with the show, but I have to record the song. It touches me. It does something to me. I've got to sing it. But I didn't have to do that because they called me the next morning and told me that of their problem, and would I come down and have a chat about possibly taking over the role. And Cameron said to me, he said, I've just got to tell you, Elaine, he said, it's not a major role. It's not anything like Evita. It's not the leading role. He said, it's a pivotal role, but you only have one song. And I said, right. And I said, it wouldn't be called Memory by any chance, would it? And he said, yes, that's it. That's the only song you've got. That's the one song. And I thought, don't believe it. I mean, this is unbelievable. And anyway, so obviously the rest is history. I go off and have a meeting with them, and the opportunity to be the first to ever sing that song was just too great an opportunity to turn down. And the cat, just by the way, stayed with me for the rest of her life, and of course I called her Grizabella. But don't you think that's spooky? That is a really weird thing. It's like it was serendipity or something. It's as if it was meant to be, because I'd never seen it. I'd lived in this street for several years and I had never seen that cat before.
And what do you love about singing Andrew Lloyd Webber's music?
Well, I think a lot of what I love about his music, or certainly the pieces, the musicals of his that I've been involved in, he doesn't, I don't think he really considers the female voice when he writes, because the expanse from one end of a musical spectrum to the other is so huge. But that's part of what I love about it, because it's sort of Tragian, you know, they're huge, great big Puccini-esque type, operatic type arias to sing. And so they certainly stretch one as a singer. Luckily I had, 2.5, maybe 3 octaves when I was younger, singing his stuff. And I think that's what I love about it, because there's always these wonderful climactic, dramatic, emotional moments, and that's what I get off on singing this stuff. I mean, because Memory's one of them, Evita was another, and of course Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard. They all have this operatic quality about them.
And you had so many great, memorable roles, as you had just mentioned. I mean, do you have a favorite?
It's such a difficult question to answer that, really. I mean, Evita, I think, will always be particularly special to me, because that was such a coveted role. They searched for 18 months to try and find the person to play it worldwide. And the fact that I got the job for once in my life, I wasn't too short. I always thank Eva Perron that she was 5'2". It was pretty staggering role to land, and so I suppose because it was the first, and indeed very special, it gave me my career, really. Without that I might well not be sitting here talking to you, and it really did sort of give me the basis of a career going forward. But since then, of course, there have been other roles. Everyone I've loved to some degree or other, really, but I think that will stand out, as will Piaf, and as will Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard. I think those 3 women, and also they all have a connection in some strange way, those 3 women. They're driven and they're tough, and and yet there's a terrible vulnerability to them as well. So they're very interesting characters to play. I think those 3 are probably the ones that stand out most in my mind. But then of course Chess was exceptional to me, because that gave me a #1 hit single over here in Europe, but also that score, I think, in the 1980s really was exceptional. I think it's the most amazing score written by the ABBA boys. Fantastic.
And do you have a favorite leading man?
Ooh, I'm not often asked that. I think that'd be unfair to answer. They've all been pretty special in their ways. But Alan Campbell in certainly on Broadway was wonderful to work with. Such a generous actor to work with, and we got on very well. And there was a simpatico between us. That was what working with him was wonderful. John Barrowman as well. I played opposite him, he was playing the same role. Joe in Sunset. I worked with Josh Ackland in the original production of Evita. That was a great honour to work with him because he was a big movie star and a wonderful Shakespearean actor. So I was humbled to work with him, and David Essex as well in Evita. So I've been very fortunate. I've had some really lovely leading men.
And is there a reason why you just didn't do more Broadway?
Well, you know, the interesting thing about that is with Evita, Hal Prince said to me, "Oh, you're going to be a star, and you're coming to Broadway, and you're going to be a Broadway star," and all of this. Well, of course, in those days, 1978, the unions were very much still had a heavy sway, and I was told that I wasn't able to come with Evita because of the union, the American Equity Union. The same thing occurred with Cats, because they considered it to be a minor role and that anybody could play that, a cat. You didn't have to be British or be me to play a cat, so I lost out there. And then the third one, Tim Rice wrote Chess with me in mind, with a specific idea of getting me to Broadway. He was miffed, seriously, more than me, I think, that I had been unable to play Broadway in the two roles that I originated. And so he wrote Chess with that with me in mind. And again, I was scuppered yet again because Trevor Nunn kind of changed the character. Instead of retaining the Hungarian heritage of the character, he turned her into an American. And Judy Kuhn, I think, played the role on Broadway. But in a way, so I missed out again. So I'm talking here 10 shows and 18 years down the line from Evita to the time that I did actually make my Broadway debut. So that's quite a long time. And that is the answer to your question. I was scuppered either by unions or some other means. But finally, I got there with Norma Desmond, yes, to kind of take over the role of the last leg, I suppose you could say, of Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. I had played already, though, with the New York City Opera. I played Mrs. Lovett, Stephen Sondheim, Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, but I understand that's not considered Broadway, so... So it took me, as I say, 10 shows and 18 years to get there. It was worth the wait, though. I can say that, honestly.
And what do you love about the London theatre scene?
Well, it seems a long way off since I was part of it, really, in any real way, in any real sense. But what I love about theatre altogether is the camaraderie, the fact that we're, a certain type of person all gathered together trying to make some magic in a theatre on a nightly basis, I think is something very special indeed. And I've been very fortunate to, be part of some wonderful companies and wonderful shows, new shows, innovative shows. And I think that's what I love about it most is the fact that you're all in it together. It's a company, an ensemble way of life. And indeed crikey, I've been working now 55 years. So for a great deal of my life, that was my whole life. I had no social life whatsoever. My life was, and my social life was, mixing with these wonderful people who have remained, some have remained close friends over all these long years, dating back to even 1974. I still have friends that I met in my early shows that I still know today. And that's what I love about it, is that you're all part of this wonderful creative process. And and you're all of a like mind, I suppose.
And you know, you're often referred to as the first lady uh, of
Yes.
British musical theater. Like,
Yeah.
I see you're laughing.
Well,
When you hear that, what do you think?
well, I don't know. It's just kind of, I think it must be because I've been around so long. They're kind of, holding me up there or something. Well, I don't know. I think that was a Tim Riceism, when the fact that, I couldn't get to Broadway and everything. And of course, you always have a first lady, don't you, in the White House. So he said, well, you're first lady of the British Musical Theatre, no matter what, stuff them, kind of thing. If they don't want you, we'll have you. You're the first lady of British Musical Theatre. So I think it was initially said as a bit of a joke, but somebody in the press cottoned onto it and it kind of stuck. So,
Yeah.
listen, I'm fine by it, honestly. It doesn't worry me at all. I'm very honoured that they should want to call me the First Lady of British Musical Theatre.
And then last, I skipped over this question. What was your fondest memory of your role in Cats?
Well, I think it was possibly eventually working out what lyric I was going to sing. For the first 10 previews, I was given practically a different lyric or part of a different lyric every night for 10 days. And it was a nightmare. It was a feat of memory to try and remember it. And eventually, of course, it was decided that the lyric that Trevor Nunn had taken several lines from the original poem, which was called Rhapsody on a Windy Night. And he had morphed some of those original T.S. Eliot lines and mixed them with some of his own writing to create the lyric that we all know and love today. So I was glad that at the end of 10 nights of terrible stress trying to remember what it was I was singing, that to finally make the decision on the lyric that we now know. So that was a wonderful memory. And also, it was a strange show to be part of, really, because it was quite a lonely existence, to be honest. It was really rather similar to the character I was playing, because every time I went on stage, they all went, the rest of the company went off. And when they all came on, I limped off. So it was a lonely experience, but it was, I think, being the first to be able to create that role and to sing that wonderful songs, which I think is one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's finest compositions. That for me is the best memory, because it's just a stunning song, and I never tire of singing it ever. Wonderful. And it's mine. I think of it as mine. I kind of think of it as my kind of signature now. I've lived with it so long. It's like an old pair of slippers.
I actually saw you, and we were visiting my aunt and uncle in London at that time in '81. I was 10, and
wow.
My aunt was talking about it. My sister is obsessed with cats, and so she kept on begging my parents. So we actually all went and saw you back in '81.
Wow.
10 years
I'm
old.
glad you saw me, because I thought you were going to say, oh, and you were off. But I don't think I was. I don't think I was ever off in that show. But well, I'm glad you saw it. It was special, I thought. I mean, especially for kids. Children loved it.
Oh, yeah. We were excited because we saw,
Because, you really could. And what's fabulous about this video film that they filmed in 1998 is that it is filmed in a theatre with the set. The set as it was. And I think, in a way, this is the best way to view it. This is the way it should be seen. If you can't see it live in a theatre, this is the film that you should watch, because it's where it belongs, really. All the pieces fit. The set is the right proportions with the actors playing the cats. You're seeing it through the cat's eyes. All the proportions, the set design, the costumes, the whole thing works in this one. This is the one to watch.
So I could assume you probably didn't see the recent movie, right?
I did see it. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because, that was kind of like all out of proportion. I mean, you can't have a bunch of human beings pretending to be cats, not even wearing gloves with human hands, walking upright and cavorting about in Trafalgar Square, where the proportions are humongous. I'm sorry, even my imagination, which can run rife, even I couldn't make that leap of faith, I'm afraid. So I think that this, as it's probably humble in real terms by comparison to the big blockbuster movie, but I think it gives a better. It shows a better rendition of the origins of the piece, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate your time.
Great talking to you.
Oh, thank you. Have a
Thanks.